Hi, I'm Mark from eReplacementParts.com. In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the wiring harness on your Weed Eater XT10 string trimmer. First, I'll remove the cap from the spool assembly, followed by the button and the string spool. Now I'll remove the 4 screws that attach the cover to the motor housing. And the cover will just slide away from the motor housing. The motor housing is secured with a series of screws. I'll go ahead and remove those. With the screws removed, now I can go ahead and split the 2 sides of the housing. The motor and spool assembly will simply lift away from the housing. There are 2 wires from the wiring harness attached to the motor. I'll go ahead and remove those. The switch handle assembly is held together with a series of screws and a knob assembly. We'll start by removing the fasteners. With the fasteners removed, now I can go ahead and open the switch handle assembly. Now I'll remove the trigger, and I'll remove the on-off switch, and remove the wires from the wiring harness. Now I'll pull the wiring harness away from the switch handle assembly, and pull it through the tube. Now I can go ahead and thread the wiring harness through the tube. You'll want to remember that there are 2 different ends to the tube. The end with the snap button corresponds to the switch handle set side of the trimmer. Now I'll go ahead and set the tube into the switch handle assembly, lining up the snap button with the groove inside the handle. And then thread the wiring harness through the handle assembly. You'll notice that there's tabs and cutouts for the wires to feed through. Now I'll go ahead and replace the switch. You'll notice that the switch is a momentary type switch. At rest, it naturally goes to the off position. When I attach the wires, I want to take the incoming wire and attach it to the off side of the switch. Then I'll take the motor side and attach it to the on side of the switch. Then place the switch into the housing. Now I'll install the trigger. I'll make one last check to make sure that all the wires from the wiring harness are out of the way, and then we can go ahead and reassemble the switch handle assembly. I'll secure the 2 halves of the switch handle assembly with the screws and knob assembly. Now I'll attach the 2 wires from the wiring harness back to the motor. And I'll place the motor assembly into the housing. Now I'll reassemble the motor housing. Before I put the 2 halves of the housing together, I want to make sure that all of the wires are tucked out of the way so they don't get pinched. Once everything is clear, I'll reattach the other side of the housing and fasten it with the screws. Now I'll slide the cover back onto the motor housing and secure it with the screws. Now I'll install the spool. The spool goes in with the riding towards you. Then I'll place the button on the spool and install the cap. As you can see, replacing the wiring harness is a repair that you can easily do yourself on your Weed Eater XT10 string trimmer. If you found this video helpful, please feel free to leave a comment or ask us a question.